Hey guys, welcome to It Shouldn't Happen to Us, where in today's episode we're going to talk about money, and we're going to talk about discounts, and we're going to talk about how prospects and clients can make us believe that that a discount is important and the price point is what the decision is gonna turn on, and about what a fiction that is. So we're going to talk about that. You're going to come out with some good tools and techniques, thinking about money, talking about money. And if you get value, don't forget to like and subscribe. Welcome to It Shouldn't Happen to Us podcast.
Straight from Miami, this is It Shouldn't Happen to Us. After 30 plus years of selling and training sales teams, we still screw it up sometimes. And this is where we tell you all about it, because it shouldn't happen to us. Hey, Carlos.
Hey, Sofia. How are you?
I'm great. Cool session you had this morning.
Thank you very much. It's a topic I love. I love training beliefs and money beliefs. In fact, what a great topic for the pod. So I should also say welcome and hello to our audience and our viewers and our listeners. So thank you. It was a cool session. Hey, we had there was about 70 odd people in that session this morning, which was a cool team. I thought engagement was really high. You didn't see the beginning, but the engagement was really high. I don't think you saw the beginning. I didn't see you on the Zoom.
I got in a little late.
Yeah, but it was great, and we were talking specifically. And I think it's a good topic for today, actually. Because we've all got ish-2 moments when it comes to things like discounts and how we feel about price. And it happens to us too, right? It happens to us too that we can get trapped in that fiction that, I need to give a discount to win this deal. Prospect is expecting a discount. Prospect is expecting a win. Let's get this over a line. Let's discount it a little bit. I think we all, like salespeople, we do sometimes get a little lost in our money mindset. And we know better than most.
Sure,
and we should know better than most. I mean, you tell everybody listening and watching how to think about your price. How do you think about price?
I write in my journal every day, I am 20 times ROI for all of my clients.
Nice.
And I believe it.
Because it's true. In fact, it's underdone. You're more than 20 ROI, more than 20.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know they can't pay us what we're worth. And I also happen to know that it's never really about price, and that prospects will use price as a power move.
Yeah. It's interesting, right? So my belief set, and you know that, and anyone who knows me or anyone who's ever been a client of mine knows, this will resonate because I say it so often. It's never, ever, never once, not even nearly, never, ever, ever about the price. Never. Now, that doesn't mean the price isn't important. It is the money investment.
Sure.
Is a significant part of most of us. It's a significant part of the overall investment suite that anybody invests when they buy something, a service, a product. There's a suite of investments they make: time, energy, confusion, complexity, and money. Money's a part of that. And it's important. It's important to get right, and it's important to get it conceptualized. But it's never the reason somebody buys or doesn't buy. Never once. Now, here's the challenge, and we both know this. As a salesperson, I'm bringing my money head trash in. I'm bringing my money belief set in. And if I'm not careful, I'll believe it's the most important reason. It's the reason they're going to buy or not. Now, I can manage that. That's on me to manage my own money mindset. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But then there's the prospect bringing their money mindset into, because some of those guys believe that the price is important. The prospect believes it too. It isn't true. It isn't true that that's the reason they're going to choose their supplier, or, that is the best way to measure different options. It isn't true, but they'll believe it too. Now, the question is, whose job is it to disabuse? Whose job is it? Is it the prospect's job to challenge their own belief set, or is that really my job in the sales seat? What do you think?
It's our job in the sales seat. And boy, oh boy, do we have seeds in the subconscious mind that really build up a terrible money concept. Messages like save your money for a rainy day. Rich people are greedy. Rich people are criminals. Filthy rich. You have to work hard to make money. You can't be rich and spiritual. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. That's not for people like us, honey. We can't afford it. What am I made of? Money? Don't talk with people about money. It's impolite.
Money doesn't grow on trees.
Right.
Rude to talk about money. These are the messages we grow up with. Rude to talk about money. Money doesn't grow. You can't spend it twice. Penny wise, pound foolish. There's just so many of these, right?
And from a psychological standpoint, and that's the beauty of what we do, Carlos, is that we don't just give people cool talk tracks and techniques. Those are important. Those are great. But you never want to do something unless you know why you're doing it, I believe David H. Sandler said himself. And it's also important to note what's happening from a psychological standpoint in that meeting. Because you have a prospect who's sitting there with you, badgering you with questions. They are going to ask you things like, and they've put you in you have put yourself in a subservient role by being overly courteous. And, in a previous episode, make sure to listen, guys, to our episode on equal business stature. You have planted a seed in the subconscious mind of the prospect where you're here and they're here. And so they're going to tell you something like, well, just tell me what the price is, or, wow, that's really expensive. And from a psychological standpoint, we drift into a childlike ego state. And that childlike ego state does what? It's obedient. It goes to their manager for concessions. So it's also important to note, this is all the noise between our ears, guys.
I'm just looking up when the equal business section was, but we'll put it in the notes to the episode because I can't find it. Yeah, we sometimes are so uncomfortable talking about the money, or we've told ourselves a story that the best way to close this one is to offer, like, you know those deals. There's like buy it today deal, the
buy today,
red
slap chop.
Red, what is it? Red letter day. Today's a red letter day. Today's the day. Only today. If I get a yes today, you're gonna get this great discount. And we've convinced ourselves with stuff. And we're supposed to know better. And even though we teach it, I know for sure that I would say I am not as guilty as the average sales Joe now, but there was a time when I was as guilty, if not more so than most. And we're supposed to know what we're talking about. And I know you must have done it. I know you've sold with a discount. And here's the killer. How often do you do it and you sell with a discount and then you've weakened your position to the point that actually that client becomes the worst client you've ever had? They become they got it for the cheapest and they become the most demanding. They become the hardest work. You must have a story. Tell us a story.
Yeah, well, not only that, Carlos, but then also if you want to get referrals from that client, what, you think they're not going to share your dirty little discount secret?
Oh,
so
100%.
Now, you kind of put yourself in a box. So do I have stories? Gosh, I mean, I could do 10 episodes each having a story about a time that I discounted. That's obviously a lesson that I had to learn various times, but message received, universe. One in particular was one of the more humiliating. Was we got a referral from a client, and he was this really well-dressed realtor, which in Miami, I mean, there's
means
so many
nothing.
realtors.
Yeah,
means nothing. He was this well-dressed. This was like my first year of working in absolute sales development. And he comes to crash a class. He's a referral. And at the end of class, we've coordinated to have a conversation in a back room where we used to shepherd our victims into no kidding. But so we had a back room where we discuss, hey, what'd you think? You want to move forward or not?
What are you trying to solve? What are you
trying to
solve? Monetize pain, exactly.
Yeah. So I took him through the whole process. We had him do a lead development step, which we do at Absolute, where I had him do a questionnaire of, on a scale of not a problem to critical must fix, being 5, rank this issue, which is, a list of issues that we solve. He had 4s and 5s all over the place. He had lots of, qualified. He had a pain that we could solve, and he had lots of it in the present right now. It was just him. And I was sitting there like, oh, I got one. Finally, I got one. I haven't closed anything for like 2 months. Like, please, I really want to close this guy. Oh, fuck. And so
commission breath.
please.
Breath.
And like, yeah. I mean, I just ate almonds for dinner last night. So I'm like, man. But then he like, I get to the presentation, and I tell him how much it is, and Carlos, he starts to become this like negotiating monster, and he's like, look, I want to do it for this much, and if you do bring it down to this much, I'll do it. And I was like, oh man, like I don't know if I can do that, because the person that referred you, they're certainly not, they don't have that rate, and I think it's probably not a great idea. He's like, come on. I'm like, I know. And I went into like Mother Teresa Gandhi mode. And I'm like, I know I can help you, but you can't share. You cannot share this rate. And as soon as you start getting more meetings and you start having, a better inventory, then we'll bring you up to the regular rate. And he's like, all right, yeah, cool. Let's do it. We shook hands. He signed. And on his way out of the office, the company that had referred us was still in the room chatting with you, Carlos. And he comes out with the contract in his hand like, ha ha, you see how good I am? I'm a great, negotiator, whatever. And that created a big
well,
turd
it created
for me
a big
turd for both of us.
Big turd for me with my clients as well.
Right.
Especially as we're supposed to know what we're doing. Hey, it shouldn't happen to us, but it does. It does happen to us too.
Bad.
And it usually, well, where do you think it was born from? Right? Because you know what you're supposed to do. Where do you think it came from? Where do you think?
Well, first of all, I was desperate I was hungry for a win. No matter how small, I was hungry for a win, even if it was the scratchiest squirrel with no meat on him. I was like, please give me a win.
Yeah.
So that when you're attached to the result, it's going to make you shortcut the process.
Yep, 100%.
So
I think that's one of the major places it came from. What else?
And just bad money concept. I got like a political refugee father from Cuba. Yeah, he comes from a communist country. I come from immigrant Latino parents. Messages I got were, you need to learn the value of a dollar. You need to know. And we used to have a lemonade stand, me and my sister, and my little sister's name is Victoria, and the lemonade stand, he would name it Victoria No Secrets, as in no secrets to what's in the lemonade.
That is brilliant.
A lot of play comes from a lot of places. Hungry is close something. Bad money concept. I felt the pressure of this guy, and then I was also thinking, what will the referrers think of me if I don't bring this guy over the line, and what is he going to say to them if he doesn't become a client? And then I got to stand and teach a class in front of these people, and will that make me a fraud?
And
it's like
and
Ish
you know
Cube
what?
was born years ago.
And it steals our major purpose, which was help this guy make a great decision. And the great decision isn't based on price. The great decision is based on fit. But, it's interesting. We have these money. And I think even more so guys like me and you who come from that immigrant family, we came from families that had nothing. Your dad had nothing. My dad had nothing.
He did, Carlos. He gave me a little bit like, please, I really need this. And
he hammed it up.
He had like a Land Rover.
Yeah.
But he did. He was like, please, I really need this. Like, then I also kind of started feeling bad for him too. I was like, man, in that room, it was a lot. It was a psychological whirlwind. I mean,
it was like room 101 or whatever in 1984. I remember, it wasn't 101, it was something else. But I remember once I was walking down the street with Dad here in Miami with my dad who came to visit me. And we came from a very working class background. And Dad I remember we were walking down the street. We were walking down a really, really nice neighborhood here in Pinecrest. And we were walking down the street and there was a house on the corner there that's like a monster. It's like a mansion, just bonkers house. And we're walking towards it. And this was Dad's first trip to Miami. Actually, it was his first trip to America. And we're walking down the street, and Dad said, "Oh, my goodness, look at that house over there. What a beautiful house." I said, "Oh, yeah, Dad, that's a beautiful house." We're walking towards it. A couple of steps later, he says, "Phew, I wonder what that person does to have a house like that." I was like, "Well, I don't know, Dad." Couple more steps towards it. He says, "That's too big a house for somebody." Couple of steps towards it. A couple of more steps. He goes, "Who needs a house like that?" Couple more steps. People don't need houses like that. Couple more steps. He was like morphing. It was like that. Remember the scene in Thriller where Michael Jackson turns into the werewolf? He was like morphing into this raving commie right before my eyes. It was like, it started with "what a beautiful house," and it ended up like horrible people must be there with all that money. So, but we've got that inside us, Sophia. Those seeds were planted years and years ago inside us. Now, what do we do about it? Well, first thing we do about it is we got to get pretty strong in our money concept. I remember I had a coach when we first started the business, and if he ever watches this, I hope he does watch, Rich Levinson, the rabbi. I don't know if you remember Rich. Might have been before your time, Rich. So Rich Levinson once said, go to the bank, pull out $200 or $300, but go to the bank and get it to give it you in $100 notes. He said, and keep it in your pocket. And, to this day, I've kept a couple $100. This isn't a good message to give the world because I'll get mugged. But to this day, I have $200 or $300 bills that I never use. Because, how could you use a $100 bill? Nobody uses it. You can't use it anywhere, right? But it just is that it's a little psychological seed on having just having a few $100 in your pocket. There's a psychological seed there. The other thing I bet you didn't, I'm going to guess you didn't do with that guy, and I remember that guy. I mean, what a swine. For him to beg and please and give you the orphan Annie face, and then as soon as you get it, sort of shake the, like a Neville Chamberlain moment, shaking that contract in the air. Walking out, look at what I got.
Like, no shame. Like,
of
not
course,
even thinking,
no shame.
I'm going to be in the classroom now,
because he had in his mind that was his job today. His job today wasn't making a good decision. His job today was to negotiate a deal with you. Yeah. And you let him do it.
Yep.
That's all right. I've done it too. I don't say it with judgment. I'm saying let's understand what we're doing. You let him do it. You didn't challenge that belief set, and you really wanted the deal. So how do you what's the best way to not need the deal?
Well, first of all, have some healthy beliefs about money. It's only paper. It's not good or bad. It's only paper. I tell myself it's my responsibility to make as much money as I can to help people, to pay rent, to be the best version of myself. What Coach Fleetwood, who I just spoke to, if you're listening to this, Coach Fleetwood, we love you. He used to tell me, so money is never a problem unless you don't have any, which is it's really true.
Yeah. What is it? I read a quote the other day. The people that say money can't buy you happiness has never really had any money or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
100%.
But it can make misery a lot better, right? Makes misery a lot better.
Be happy for people that earn more than you. That's a hard one.
That's another cool one, actually. To read Forbes, that was one of the other things a rabbi used to tell us. That's what a Rich used to tell us. Read Forbes and wealth magazines. So just read and understand and kind of feel yourself in that mindset, without it making you entitled or without it making you, disappointed. Read it just to sort of mindset shift. That's a cool technique.
Yeah. Be able to monetize pain, which you're amazing at.
Yeah, because that conceptualizes the investment step, right? So the investment step, the money step, in your process when you talk about price. Well, first of all, you should talk about price at the right time. If you for my sales colleagues out there, the people listening to this podcast, hey, you got to talk about price at the right time. A lot of salespeople are talking about it too early or too late. Too early before you've talked about pain and before you've talked about the problem to solve. That's a mistake because then it's out of context. Too late is because you've been worried about raising. You've been too worried to raise the pricing. It's weak. Often it's too late. Often the first time a prospect hears the price, is when you're presenting the final solution. Way, way, way too late. There's the right time. It usually is towards the middle of the sales call, after you've talked about the compelling reason to work together, the compelling reason to do business, or the compelling reason for the product. That's the right time to talk in outline and contextualize the pricing. And then they see it again. Well, and it's a qualifier. That's another important point. Price is not a feature, it's a qualifier. When Sofia told you that story, and by the way, Sophia's not the only one with a story like that, but when Sofia told you that story about the guy who was, I want to do it, but can we reduce the price? They were treating price as a feature, something that can be adjusted and changed. Like, do you want it in red? Do you want it in blue? Do you want it at this price? Do you want it at that price? Price is a qualifier. So once we've established the economic context of the transaction through why should we work together and what's the economic context of working together, what's the monetization of the pain, well, then we talk about, is this price point a fit or not? It's a qualifier. It is not a feature. That was Roger Wentworth that taught me that. And so having that ability to monetize pain and put the investment, the dollars invested into an economic context, how much was somebody expecting to pay? How much do they typically pay for things like this? What is the problem that they're trying to solve, and what is the economic impact of that problem, both at a business level and a personal level? I mean, I spend a good 10 to 20% of the sales call doing what we call monetizing pain, which is putting the investment into an economic context for that buyer, and specifically for that buyer, because everybody's different. The price is the same for everybody, but the economic context of that price is different for every buyer.
And you should get really good at that, by the way. Become killer at quantifying pain. It's another exercise that sounds so obvious, and maybe some of the listeners on here are like, duh, but get clear on pricing. Create a menu of what things cost, because if you're improvising on the spot and that adrenaline and the puppy dog face and I really need this,
the little orphan Annie. Yeah.
Right. Get clear on your pricing. Most of our listeners probably, that's a no-brainer. They already have that, but I know that was helpful for us when we're like, what are we going to charge? What do we charge?
Yeah. And the other interesting one, I think, is we talked about it last week and the week before, pre-call plan. The power of the pre-call plan. What a great tool it is for an issue like this, because when you're pre-call planning, number one, you get clear on price to begin with, but you obviously don't raise it until the economic context has been set, but you get clear on your price, you set your goal for the meeting, and then you can do a little role playing, a little challenge. You can ask if you can write down in your pre-call plan some monetization questions, and you can ask your context questions, and you can write them down in your pre-call plan. So, hey, I think that's the end of the pod now, Sofia. What a great topic to talk to the team about. It's rich in theory that everybody comes laden, both the buyer and the seller come with this baggage, this money baggage. We've given a ton of cool techniques and some tools, and what a great story you shared. Hey, if that was helpful, there's an easy way to pay us back for all that extra value that you got, and that's to hit the like and hit the subscribe. And I really should get better at saying this in the middle of the pod. But guys, like, subscribe, come back next week, and until next week, Sofia and I are going to wish you good selling. It's goodbye from Sofia. Oh,
and good selling and a great money concept, and it's toodaloo from Carlos.
Great. See you soon, guys. That's the pod.